Donald Trump sent out a message to his followers last night that was dramatic and apocalyptic. It read, "My farewell message. Tomorrow I could be thrown in jail. I hope this isn't goodbye." And everyone on Twitter said, "Don't threaten us with a good time, Donald Trump." But the reason he sent this out is because last week, the Manhattan DA filed a motion to hold him in contempt for violating his gag order, not once, not twice, but up to 10 different times by posting this crazy stuff on Truth Social about Michael Cohen, about Judge Merchan, about Judge Merchan's daughter, as I'm sure you know. And today, we finally got to hear both the prosecution and the defense's arguments, and Judge Merchan was not having it. He ripped in to the defense multiple times, saying they lost all of their credibility. You can already tell that Judge Merchan is incredibly fed up with the antics of Trump and his lawyers, and we're only officially a week into the trial. We've only gotten through the jury selection process and opening statements, and Judge Merchan is already fed up. But I guess that's what happens when Trump spends months attacking his family members before the trial even begins. But yesterday, Christopher Conroy argued the motion for the DA, and what the DA alleged is that Trump committed at least 10 separate violations of the court's order through social media posts, 8 of the posts on Truth Social and 2 to his campaign website. And Conroy argued that these posts threaten the integrity of the trial, that any other defendant that did this would immediately be punished, but Donald Trump gets this special treatment. Which is funny because MAGA Republicans and Fox News pundits are arguing that Trump is getting special treatment, but in the opposite direction, that they're only targeting him because he is a former president running a campaign. But we know this isn't true. First of all, Donald Trump was being investigated long before he decided to open his campaign or run his campaign. It's more like he's running a campaign in the middle of his trials to try to draw up this narrative and skirt around the fact that he committed all of these crimes. But secondly, he is getting special treatment in the form of being able to send out all of these Truth Social posts about Judge Merchan's daughter, all of these crazy Truth Social posts, and not get any sort of punishment. So Marie Harf yesterday, who was Jessica Tarlov's fill-in, actually debunked this point to Jesse Waters' face. I'm going to play this clip really quickly. First, make sure you leave a like to help support the video.
But he actually is, I mean, Jesse, to your point, he is given special treatment. He is under a gag order that any other defendant, if they violated repeatedly on Twitter, online, would have already been thrown in jail. He is under court orders that any other defendant would have, and he is violating them every single day. And so, Kayleigh, I agree with you that he is getting a lot of the press attention. The open question in my mind is whether that will be positive for him. When all of the attention is about paying off a porn star, right, is about all of the criminal indictments, him lying, him acting chaotic. I don't know at the end of the day if that press attention will help him when we know independent voters particularly don't like that chaos. They don't like the lying. They don't like the moral shortcomings and failures of Donald Trump. I actually think that that press attention might hurt him and help Biden in the end.
Marie Harf makes a great point, and it's actually the same point that Don Lemon and I had a disagreement about on his show. He said that he thinks this wall-to-wall press coverage is favorable for Donald Trump, and I disagreed. I said seeing Sleepy Don or Don Snorleone trending on Twitter undermines the years of Sleepy Joe propaganda that Donald Trump and his team spread. But this is besides the point. One more thing I want to touch upon before we dig back into the gag order case today is that outside of the courtroom, as Donald Trump was walking in, he began talking about his supporters protesting. In a roundabout way, he urged his MAGA supporters to come protest outside of the courtroom. He said do it peacefully. He said there's police presence, but he urged his supporters to protest. I won't even play the clip because I don't want to be one of those channels that just gives Donald Trump endless coverage on anything and everything he says. I don't think that is a good way to approach it, but you can only imagine Donald Trump riling up his fan base even further in the same way he did on January 6th, the same way he's done repeatedly over and over. But let's move back on to this gag order violation. So Christopher Conroy, the person who's arguing for the DA, went through each post to show how they were violations, but stated that the most egregious one was where he claimed that liberal activists were lying to the judge to get on the jury so they could convict Trump.
Donald Trump reposted something posted by the 8 p.m. host on Fox, Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters says they are catching undercover liberal activists lying to the judge in order to get on the Trump jury. And there's Donald Trump himself posting that on social media tonight, posting it for the jurors in his case to see, calling them liberal activists and liars. Donald Trump calling his jurors, who have already been seated, liars.
Conroy said that the very next day, one of the jurors already chosen and sworn in asked to be excused from the jury because of the publicity, and that juror was removed by the judge. Now, if that's not tampering with the jury pool, I really don't know what is. Donald Trump leveraged his social media platform. He leveraged his connections to Fox News, and when Jesse Water ran a segment giving away revealing information, Donald Trump boosted that segment, and the juror asked to be excused as a direct result. The prosecutor then noted that when Trump puts MAGA at the end of his posts attacking witnesses and jurors, he is doing that so he can argue that the post was being made for political purposes, so it's protected by the First Amendment. But what Conroy argued is that throwing MAGA into a post doesn't make it political, it may make it more ominous because it may incite his supporters, as we've seen in the past. Conroy also argued that reposting what someone else said or wrote is also a violation of the gag order, and Trump can't use the excuse that they were someone else's words, not his, since he was amplifying them. He concluded by arguing that they are not yet seeking jail time for the violations, but wants the court to issue a warning to Trump that the next violation could put him in jail. He asked the court to fine Trump $1,000 per post and order him to delete the posts. Okay, so here's where Todd Blanche, Trump's lawyer, started arguing the case for the defense, and things got a little bit spicy between him and Judge Merchan. Blanche said that Trump is facing continued political attacks from Cohen and Stormy Daniels on social media and in the press, so Trump should have a right to respond. He said that it's unfair that witnesses can keep attacking Trump and he can't respond without violating the order. Merchan then interrupted to note that Cohen was responding to Trump's posts about him, not the other way around. Merchan also seemed skeptical of Blanche's argument that Cohen's posts about Trump were political in nature. Blanche argued that when Cohen wrote that Trump will never pardon Avenatti, that made it political. Merchan didn't seem to buy that argument either. Blanche then argued that Trump tweets all day long, 7 days a week about politics and his cases, so it's difficult to say whether each one was in response to an attack by Cohen or came before Cohen's statement. Merchan noted that one of the articles Trump used to attack Stormy Daniels was 6 years old, so it's obviously not in response to something recently said about him. Merchan, visibly annoyed with Blanche at this point, finally asked him if Trump is suggesting there is two systems of justice in his courtroom. Blanche responded that was exactly what Trump was saying because Mr. Weisselberg is in jail for lying under oath and Michael Cohen is not. And this is the spiciest part right here. So Adam Klasfeld, who was in the courtroom reporting via Twitter, said throughout these arguments, Blanche studiously uses truth as a verb for posting on Trump's social media. So he kept saying, oh, Trump is truthing. Trump truthed about this or that. But then Blanche said, President Trump is being very careful to comply with the gag order, and Merchan sharply responded, Mr. Blanche, you are losing all credibility, which is absolutely true. I mean, the fact that he had credibility in the first place is crazy, but Donald Trump has repeatedly, in this case and in a civil case a while back, tested the limits of these gag orders to see if he can become a martyr, if he can get punished, and then use that to rile up his fan base further. Donald Trump acts like he is a common man. He has this whole populist act, but he is part of the establishment more than anyone else. This guy is a billionaire, or so he says, that flies around on private jets that was the president of the United States. And he thinks now that he should be above the law and be able to test these gag orders without seeing any repercussions. So this idea that he is just like you and I, or he's just like his voters down in Alabama or in Florida or in Texas, is not true whatsoever. Donald Trump is a definition of an elite. Judge Merchan then concluded he's going to reserve his judgment and issue a ruling later because he doesn't want to hold the jury from hearing the testimony of David Pecker. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. As always, comment a blue heart if you made it this far. Subscribe. Most importantly, make sure you have a great day yourself.